of Delhi Teachers University's webinar series. We are actually expecting more participants, but I think some of the teachers have got stuck in some of the staybacks or other activities in school. So we'll not wait anymore, and without further ado, we'll start with our session. Just let me know if you people are able to see a PPT. Can you see a PPT? Is it visible now? Just a second. Now also it's not visible? No. So my laptop is acting a little funny. I'll try to fix it again. Give me a minute, please. Okay, so is it visible now? Okay, great. Okay, and I'm sorry that some of you had to wait a bit. The session was supposed to start at 3 p.m. But because of some of the technical problems and due to some of the participants who said that they'll be joining, but they could not, we had to wait a bit. Okay, so the topic of today's webinar is citizenship education, and this particular endeavor has been taken up by Delhi Teachers University, and this is going to be a webinar series. So today it is just the beginning of the webinar session, and we are going to have several other webinars. And this particular initiative is specially meant for school teachers. So as we all know that NEP 2020, it clearly states that we need to grow together as a community. We need to learn together, and we need to collectively work for strengthening of education and the education system. So keeping this particular principle in mind, Delhi Teachers University has come up with this initiative of having a sensitization program related to NEP 2020. So we are starting with citizenship education. And just to brainstorm a bit, let's read something together. So I hope you all can see the slide that why I need citizenship education. And I want this session to be a little interactive. So a yes or a no can actually help me. Can you read this particular slide? Can you see it? Why I need citizenship education? Okay, so we need to read it together. The first point says that I am the best science teacher or student, but I don't know the name and the role of the education minister. The second one says, my house helper is a victim of domestic violence, but I don't know how to help her or him file an FIR. The third one says, my friend is passionate about women's rights, so I call him or her a feminist. Now, the fourth one is quite relatable and it is a little more interesting. A few news articles stated that the Ambani wedding was a step towards Indian art and cultural preservation. So, what is Indian art and cultural preservation and why is it needed? Next one says, I cast my vote, but I don't know about the candidate, their background, the party, manifesto, etc. And the last one is, I am just texting while driving, that too in the red light. Still, I'm being fined. And here I've clearly mentioned one thing that all these sentences or all these examples, they have to be taken with a pinch of salt. So I hope all the participants have read these things collectively with me. So a yes or a no will help me. Please unmute yourself and do participate in between.
Yes.
Okay, great. And here another picture says, a graphic says that ignorance of the law is no excuse, dummy. Okay, so here some of the examples are presented, and these examples are actually taking us towards the journey of learning things related to citizenship education. So while reading these things, did any one of you just a second, there is some issue with in my computer again, just a second. Okay, so while reading this, did any one of you come across another question in your mind कि ये पढ़ने की जरूरत ही क्या है? What is the need to be passionate about women's rights? What is the need to know about FIR? इसके बिना भी तो काम चलता है. So did this particular thought came to your mind? Okay, so I'm sure that some of you must be having a clear-cut yes in your mind, and some of you must be having a no. So just to help us answer this question in a proper manner, let's read this particular quote given by Bertolt Brecht, who's a significant German poet and also a social worker. He says that the worst illiterate is the political illiterate. He hears nothing, he sees nothing, and takes no part in political life. He doesn't know the cost of life, the price of bean, of the fish, of the flour, of the rent of the shoes, and of the medicine. All depends on political decisions. The political illiterate is so stupid that he is proud and swells his chest saying that he hates politics. The imbecile doesn't know that from his political ignorance is born the prostitute, the abandoned child, and the worst thieves of all, the bad politician, corrupted and flunky of the national and multinational companies. So this particular person has helped us in understanding the need of being political literate and how being a political illiterate can actually, it can prove to be counterproductive for our own individual growth. So citizenship education, it basically helps us in answering these questions. A general or a popular perception related to understanding of citizenship education is that this education basically pertains to knowledge about citizenship, whether I am a citizen of India or not, how to be a citizen of another country, do I have a dual citizenship or a single citizenship. Secondly, people think that citizenship education would be related to politics or governance. So according to most of the people, citizenship education would be a discipline which is related to elections or which is related to campaigning or which is related to basically the political leaders. And the answers which I am just giving, I mean, the points which are written here, they are based on data collected from 100 plus adult respondents. And this particular data was collected during the course of my PhD. And 100 adults, they had filled a questionnaire related to citizenship education, and this was the common perception related to citizenship education which came to the fore. So लोगों को यही लगता है कि citizenship education जो होता होगा वो governance के बारे में होता होगा या वो government के बारे में होता होगा या फिर वो हमारी politics या elections के बारे में होता होगा. So as teachers, we need to think more about it. We need to be more reflective. We need to understand whether this is the right answer or not. So as teachers, we focus a lot on getting the right answers. So here also we need to question ourselves. We need to be critical. Now, why are we focusing on citizenship education? Is it mentioned anywhere in the NEP? This is another very common question which comes to our mind or which comes to the mind of other people or citizens per se. So in NEP, a few points related to citizenship education or few points which are interrelated with the field of citizenship education are mentioned. The first one is knowledge and practice of human and constitutional values. Second one is gender sensitivity. Third is knowledge of India. And fourth is fundamental duties, citizenship, skills, and values. Next one, NEP 2020, it also suggests that individuals, teachers, as well as students, they need to be well aware about the current affairs and critical issues facing local communities, states, the country, and the world. So we need to understand global issues and become active promoters of more peaceful, tolerant, inclusive, secure, and sustainable societies. NEP 2020 also talks about value-based education, and value-based education is related to development of humanistic, ethical, constitutional, and universal human values of truth, righteous conduct, peace, love, non-violence, scientific temper, and citizenship. Also the life skills. So these are some of the points which are clearly mentioned in our pivotal National Education Policy 2020. And as educators, these points are also helping us to be well versed with the dynamic concept of citizenship education. So citizenship education is a wide and a vast term. It is actually an umbrella term which encompasses all these elements. If we try to unfold the concept of citizenship education, so all these elements which will come into its purview. Now, in order to understand why we are focusing on citizenship education in this particular era, or why the NEP is centered around citizenship education, why citizenship education is an essential aspect of NEP 2020, we need to focus on this particular diagram, which will help us in understanding the concept of democracy. So, in this particular image, you can see that at the heart of the image or at the center, we can see the term democracy. Democracy is very, very essential for us, being members or citizens of the largest democracy, which is India, that is Bharat. And we also know that in a democracy or in a democratic country like India, the government has been selected by us, the active citizens. So in order to select the government, we know that we need to take part in the governmental process. And these citizens are supposed to be conscious and aware of their rights and duties as well as the power relations. Only then the heart of democracy will stay strong. तो अगर दिल को बचाकर रखना है तो हमें अपने बाकी पार्ट्स पर ज्यादा फोकस करना पड़ेगा, and the other parts are the government and of course the citizens who are supposed to be active and conscious and reflective. Should I move to the next slide? I hope you all have seen this particular slide because it is actually very, very essential for the entire presentation, and the entire concept of citizenship education is somewhere embedded in this slide only. So you can also take a screenshot. I'll be explaining these concepts in detail. Okay, so now the next one includes some significant figures from history who have a significant role in today's time as well. We can never forget the father of our nation, Mahatma Gandhi, who said that what is really needed to make democracy function is not knowledge of facts, but the right education. Franklin D. Roosevelt said that democracy cannot succeed unless those who express their choice are prepared to choose wisely. Nelson Mandela said that an educated, enlightened, and informed population is one of the surest way of promoting the health of a democracy. So with the help of the quotes of these three important figures, we can understand that there is a close connection between the protection of democracy and the institution of education. So both are interrelated and interdependent. If we want to protect democracy, then we need to strengthen the education system and vice versa. So citizenship education is a discipline which actually helps us in strengthening the system of education in some way or the other, and it thereby helps in the protection of the democratic fervor of the state. But we need to think, is it a new concept? So is it a fancy terminology or a term which has come into use in the current days? The answer is a straight no. If we talk about the Indian subcontinent, so in the ancient Indian civilization also, we were focusing on the concept of citizenship education. We need to understand one thing, that the terminology keeps on changing, but the root political, it is stagnant or it is stable. So during the time of the ancient Indian tradition, जब हमारी राजा और प्रजा का कॉन्सेप्ट होता था, तो उस टाइम भी सिटीजनशिप एजुकेशन यूज करा जाता था और वो प्रमोट करा जाता था टू मेक द सब्जेक्ट्स ड्यूटी बाउंड. सो अर्लियर इट वाज कंप्लीटली ड्यूटी सेंट्रिक. If we look at the significant ancient texts, so we can clearly look at, Kautilya's statecraft is one great example of the ancient Indian text related to citizenship education, जहां पर पूरा राजा का जो कॉन्सेप्ट होता था या फिर राज्य किस तरह चलता था, और he basically spoke about the kingdom and the role of the king in it, and also how the subjects are supposed to act in the state. So he taught us about statecraft. Several other ancient Indian texts also, we can also very clearly add our Bhagavad Gita over here, and other religious and moral texts as well. So we can also look at other religions and how they promoted citizenship education. But at that time, it was basically revolving around the duties, and it was basically revolving around the religious and moral education कि हमारे लिए right path क्या है, right and wrong वाली demarcation हमको सिखाई जाती थी, और क्या चीजें हमें नहीं करनी इसके बारे में हमें ज्यादा बताया जाता था. But slowly and steadily, the entire nature of citizenship education, it changed dramatically. And then during the colonial times, the subject of political science and civics, it was used to make the people civilized. So we need to focus on this particular sentence as teachers. I just said that the subject of civics or political science was used to make individuals or citizens civilized. So in itself, this particular statement is a little questionable. अगर हम civics और political science की debate के अंदर जाते हैं, so as teachers of social science or as students of social sciences, we know how the nomenclature has changed now. तो जब NCF 2025 2005 जब वो बना था, तो उस टाइम की terminology भी change कर दी गई थी, और civics की जगह हम political science word ज्यादा यूज करते थे. So can any one of you please tell me the reason behind it? You can type your answers in the text box. Can anyone tell me why are we not using the term civics now? And why is the nomenclature focusing on political science now? We are not using the term civics anymore. Yes or no? I hope as teachers we all are aware of it. Okay,
मैम ये बच्चों के लिए सिविक्स यूज किया जाता होगा. हेलो मैम, प्रियंका कुमारी.
प्रियंका, हाँ जी बताइए.
हाँ मैम, मुझे लगता है कि ये बच्चों के लिए सिविक्स मतलब 8-10 के लिए सब्जेक्ट के लिए बोला जाता होगा. फिर जैसे से सीनियर होते गए तो हम पॉलिटिकल साइंस रखा गया नाम.
ओके, सो दिस इज वन वे ऑफ लुकिंग एट इट. प्रियंका ने बोला कि जो छोटे बच्चे होते हैं उनको पढ़ाने के लिए हम सिविक्स का सब्जेक्ट यूज करते थे. कोई और है जो आंसर देना चाहता है, और who want to add more to whatever Priyanka has just stated? Is there anyone else who wants to add more to it?
Ma'am, I believe that political science is a wider term and civics is a narrower term, as ma'am said that it is used in the primary school. So we can say that it is only used for...
ठीक है Samreen, thank you. Khushbu has also written her answer in the chat box, and she's also saying that civics is a narrower term and political science is an umbrella. Okay, so Sahil Simon is saying that he feels political science is an umbrella term. Okay, now we need to go back to what the colonialists were thinking while changing this nomenclature. अगर हम लोग एक दूसरे को बोलते हैं कि इसके अंदर या इस पर्टिकुलर इंसान के अंदर सिविक सेंस की कमी है, तो कोई जल्दी से मुझे आंसर करेगा इसका मतलब क्या होता है? Civic sense is lacking in this particular individual. Will anyone just
मैम
answer?
उसी समाज में रहने की ढंग नहीं है, कैसी सोसाइटी में रहा जाता है नहीं पता।
प्रियंका, अपना प्लीज कैमरा ऑन करोगे? आप इतना एक्टिवली यू आर पार्टिसिपेटिंग, सो वी वांट टू टेक अ स्क्रीनशॉट. वेरी गुड प्रियंका. ओके, सो ठीक है, उसके अंदर
थैंक यू सो मच।
civic sense नहीं है. Some people are also writing that knowledge related to environmental protection is not there. Okay, I need more answers. Civic sense नहीं है. ठीक है, इतने आंसर से ही मोनिका is saying a lack of civic sense reflects a failure to act in ways that promote the common good. Okay, very good मोनिका. ठीक है, तो जब colonialism वाला टाइम था, when Britishers were here in our country, they believed in this fact that the Indians, they don't have basic mannerisms or they do not possess basic civic sense. ठीक है, उनके अकॉर्डिंग अगर हम लोग हाथ से खाते थे तो वो एक बहुत बड़ा क्राइम होता था. अगर हम लोग लाउडली बात करते थे तो मतलब हमारे अंदर बेसिक मैनर्स नहीं होते थे, और हमारे बोलने का तरीका, हमारे चलने का तरीका, एवरीथिंग वाज नॉट अप टू द मार्क फॉर देम. और इसी चीज को चेंज करने के लिए उन लोगों ने ये सब्जेक्ट ऑफ सिविक्स बनाया. ठीक है, और अब क्योंकि हम लोग कलोनियलिज्म की शैकल से बहुत ज्यादा दूर आ चुके हैं, बहुत ज्यादा अब हमने अपने आप को फ्री कर लिया है, तो इसीलिए कुछ एजुकेशनल थिंकर्स ने ये डिसाइड करा दैट नाउ वी नीड टू डू अवे with the colonial mindset and also the colonial nomenclature. So because of this particular thinking or thought process, the nomenclature of civics, it changed into political science. ठीक है, तो एक बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग ये बात है. हम लोग बहुत लूजली यूज करते हैं सिविक्स और पॉलिटिकल साइंस को, बट अगर आप हमारा नेशनल फोकस ग्रुप पोजीशन पेपर देखो सोशल साइंस वाला, या फिर आप एनसीएफ ही देखो, तो वहां पर आपको क्लियरली ये डिमार्केशन नजर आएगी. बट अगेन आई एम एज एन एजुकेटर ऑफ political science education, again I need to make one point very very clear, that this particular thought process or this particular thinking cannot be generalized. There is a group of people who's debating this entire concept also, and according to them the word civics has been derived from the word civitas, and it is basically a Greek term, and it is also related to making people promoting knowledge of the civic life. ठीक है, तो हम जनरलाइज नहीं कर सकते, बट पॉपुलरली जो कि हमारा एनसीएफ विच इज एक्चुअली एन इम्पॉर्टेंट डॉक्यूमेंट, उसके अंदर ये डिमार्केशन दिया हुआ है. तो ड्यूरिंग द colonial time, citizenship education was embedded in civic education, but here again they were focusing on the duties of the citizens. So the right perspective was not there, it was missing. I'm sharing my PPT again. Okay, so can you see it? Is the PPT visible?
नो मैम, नहीं दिख रही है.
अब दिख रही है? Just a second. Okay, हाँ, अब दिखेगी आपको. One second. Is it visible now?
यस मैम.
ओके, सो फिर हमने कलोनियल टाइम्स में देखा कि क्या हुआ था सिटीजनशिप एजुकेशन के लिए. द सब्जेक्ट ऑफ सिविक्स वाज यूज्ड और पॉलिटिकल साइंस वाज यूज्ड. देन ड्यूरिंग द टाइम ऑफ इंडिपेंडेंस स्ट्रगल, Gandhi, Tagore, Tilak, Ambedkar and several other freedom fighters, they had played a very significant role in promoting citizenship education through non-formal means. तो इस टाइम पर खाली फॉर्मल मीन्स ऑफ एजुकेशन ही नहीं यूज हो रहे थे, बिकॉज ये क्लियरली हमको समझ में आ चुका था कि बहुत सारे लोग इलिटरेट भी हैं. देयर आर सेवरल पीपल हु आर नॉट, they have never been to school. but we need to tell them also about the rich history of our country. We all need to come together and fight against the colonial exploitation. तो इस टाइम पर बहुत सारी प्रेयर्स और मीटिंग्स होती थी, काफी सारे न्यूज़पेपर्स भी आए थे, सॉन्ग्स गाए जाते थे, पब्लिक लेक्चर्स होते थे और सेलिब्रेशन ऑफ फेस्टिवल्स भी करे जाते थे, जैसे कि गणपति फेस्टिवल होता था, शिवाजी फेस्टिवल होता था, और यहाँ पर एक्टिविज्म का रोल बहुत ज्यादा कॉमन हो गया था. तो सिटीजनशिप एजुकेशन इस टाइम पर आते आते इट हैड टेकन अ न्यू शेप. इट वाज नॉट जस्ट embedded in the textbooks, but now people also, they realize the fact that in order to promote it in a wider, for a wider public, we need to make use of non-formal and informal means as well. अगर हम वेस्टर्न सिविलाइजेशन की बात करें, मैं थोड़ा जल्दी इस चीज को कवर करूंगी क्योंकि बिगनिंग में बहुत टाइम इट गॉट वेस्टेड. सो इफ यू टॉक अबाउट द वेस्टर्न सिविलाइजेशन, देन एट दैट पर्टिकुलर टाइम, इन द टाइम ऑफ द during the time of Plato and Aristotle, यहाँ पर भी बहुत ज्यादा फेमस था the concept of citizenship education, and Plato said that citizenship education is significant for the existence of the society. अगर हमने रूलर्स को नहीं सिखाया how to rule, then बहुत ही ज्यादा लॉलेसनेस वाली स्टेट भी हो सकती है. तो Plato had clearly explained the concept of citizenship education in his work Laws as well. Alexis de Tocqueville ने बोला था कि जो ancient जो ग्रीक सिविलाइजेशन का आर्किटेक्चर था, वहां की जो बिल्डिंग्स वगैरह ही थी, अगर आप उनको भी ध्यान से देखो तो उससे भी आपकी सिटीजनशिप एजुकेशन बहुत ज्यादा इम्प्रूव हो जाएगी. 1960s में बर्नार्ड क्रिक यूके के अंदर, he had also worked for expansion of citizenship education, and now citizenship education was coming up as a separate discipline. It is also important to focus on the work of Septima Poinsett Clark, who was an educator and a civil rights activist during the mid 1950s in America. और इन्होंने एक specially citizenship education program develop करा था to eliminate illiteracy and for mass awareness related to the rights of the people, which basically helped in the civil rights movement. So she had developed several citizenship schools. So now we can clearly say that citizenship education is obviously not a new subject or a new discipline. It has been there throughout history. The terminology was different. It was embedded in some other subject maybe, but its existence was there. While knowing about citizenship education or while discussing about citizenship education, it becomes imperative for us as teachers and as educators to remember the seminal or the significant work of John Dewey. John Dewey stated that if children gained experience of how to elect a class president, it would be natural for them to inquire how a city mayor is elected. This is a very important point. I want you all to pay attention to this particular slide. So when we'll read names like Dewey, Mill, and critical pedagogues, we will also be able to relate their thoughts with whatever we had studied during the course of our B.Ed. I hope you all remember John Dewey. John Dewey said that the school is a miniature society. I hope you all remember. John Dewey ने बोला था that school is a miniature society. School is very important for the existence of the society, and whatever we are learning in our school will be reflected in the society, in our behavior in the society whenever we will be interacting with other individuals. So I'm repeating the point which John Dewey had mentioned in his book Education and Democracy. He stated that if in the classroom you will teach a child how to select or elect the class monitor, then later on in the wider social context, he will also be eager to learn how to elect the city's mayor or maybe the country's leader. तो अगर हम स्कूल के अंदर ऐसा कुछ सिखा देंगे, अपनी क्लासरूम के अंदर कुछ बेसिक नॉलेज प्रोवाइड करेंगे अपने स्टूडेंट्स को, तो उनकी अवेयरनेस और ईगरनेस अल्टीमेटली लार्जर सोशल कॉन्टेक्स्ट में बढ़ेगी ही. John Stuart Mill is a very famous political theorist. He also stated that citizenship education is significant for the health of a democracy and we need to have an educative democracy. तो ऐसी democracy जहां से हम लोग बहुत कुछ सीख सकें और हर चीज हमारी बस टेक्स्ट बुक्स में ही नहीं होगी, but with the help of other means of education also we need to promote citizenship education. So I'm quickly moving down to the next slide. If at all the meeting ends at 4 p.m., I will be sharing a link again or I'll be restarting this link. So I request the participants to please join the link again. And then we will be here for another 15 minutes. So I won't take much time from you people, but I need to, cover a few points here. Okay. Okay, so here the names of few critical pedagogues is also mentioned. Some of them are Paulo Freire, Henry Giraud, Pierre Bourdieu, Michael Appel. All these people advocated critical thinking for the promotion of citizenship education. They said that now we need to, indulge in debates and discussions. According to these people, divergent views are also equally important in order to understand a particular concept. So if in a classroom, two children have got diverse perspective related to one particular thing or a concept, then as teachers, we need to nurture the thought process of both the children or both the students so that they can, debate and discuss and then come to a conclusion. And it is not important to, always come to a consensus. Many a times we can have our own different perspectives and thought processes. So as teachers, we should be welcoming. Okay, so the sources of citizenship education, some of the sources have been explained earlier, but I'll be reiterating some of them. The first one is formal education. So formal education is basically centered around educational institutions where teachers and textbooks, they play a role. Social science as a subject exclusively talks about citizenship education in some way or the other. But we also need to do away with this particular notion that only social science is helping us in strengthening our citizenship education. That is not the case. So social science ke alawa bhi citizenship education can be embedded throughout the curriculum. So in others, with the help of other subjects also, with the help of examples and illustrations, the teacher can promote citizenship education. Then we have co-curricular activities. And in co-curricular activities, we are celebrating several festivals. We are having debates and discussions. We can also have special talks or special lectures, and all these endeavors can surely strengthen our knowledge related to citizenship education. Another very interesting part is the hidden curriculum. So can anyone just explain the concept of hidden curriculum in a word or two? I want you people to write it here in the chat box. What is the meaning of the term hidden curriculum? Or you can simply unmute yourself.
Ma'am, things which are not written in the syllabus
Very good, Samri.
is said to be hidden curriculum.
Not written in the syllabus or in the curriculum. So can anyone give me one example of hidden curriculum?
Ma'am, the example can be, for example, we can actually make the children learn about gender neutrality or sensitivity. For example, if the teacher enters into the class and if it's a Rangoli making competition, usually what happens is that we call on girls only. But if we call on interested students, if any boy is interested or if any girl is interested altogether, so this actually imbibes that no,
Great. Very good.
creativity
Very
is not
good,
just for
Khushbu.
girls.
Okay, great, Khushbu. I want you to turn on your camera, please. We need to take screenshots of those people who are participating at least, and then that will be featured on the university website as well. Samreen, Khushbu, please turn on your cameras, and other participants as well. Okay, so Khushbu has just explained the concept of gender sensitization or how the education related to gender neutrality can be, it can be fostered through hidden curriculum. किस तरीके से अगर रंगोली मेकिंग कंपटीशन हो रहा है और क्लासरूम में टीचर बस फीमेल स्टूडेंट्स को ही बुला रही हैं, तो ऑटोमेटिकली हमारे दिमाग में या हम तक एक मैसेज जाएगा दैट आर्ट एंड एस्थेटिक्स is the field which is meant only for the girls and it is not for people belonging to other genders. Very good. Can we have more examples? Any other example related to hidden curriculum? So can I give one example? Okay, so I am giving one example. So we also know that each and every institution has got its own ideology. Every institution or every teacher has his or her own ideology. Yes, तो ideology के अंदर basically हमारा mindset आता है, also about it is also related to our views. या फिर हम लोग अगर किसी इंडिविजुअल को फॉलो करते हैं या फिर एक ग्रुप को हम फॉलो करते हैं, तो ऑल दैट कम्स अंडर द term of ideology. So if a teacher follows one particular ideology or maybe if a teacher is non-democratic और classroom के अंदर वो आकर कुछ ऐसी चीजें बोल जाती है या बोल जाते हैं which are not secular in nature or which are discriminatory in nature, then even this can be a part of hidden curriculum. Okay, so we are promoting knowledge related to something not overtly but covertly, but it is present there. अगर क्लासरूम के अंदर मेल टीचर्स फीमेल टीचर्स से बहुत चिल्लाकर बात करते हैं, नॉट टीचर्स, फीमेल स्टूडेंट्स से बहुत चिल्लाकर बात करते हैं, बहुत रूडली बात करते हैं, बट अदर मेल्स से वो बहुत सॉफ्टली बात करते हैं, तो यहाँ पर भी एक हिडन करिकुलम हमको दिख सकता है. सो हिडन इंटेंशंस कुड बी देयर एंड दे आर प्लेइंग अ रोल इन आवर in framing our own knowledge system as well. तो हमारा जो पूरा mental process है, that is also regulated with the help of the hidden curriculum. And we also need to understand one thing. Okay, so Sahil Simon has raised his hand. Do you want to say something? You can
Yes, ma'am, I would like
unmute
to
yourself.
share. Yeah, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, ma'am, actually, this is a recent experience that I had. I'm teaching in a Catholic school, and we
Okay.
follow certain principles of the Catholic community as well. So there was a mass that was conducted in our school, a religious ceremony, and everyone was made to participate, even if they don't like it. I didn't like that thought, so probably if someone is
Okay.
even uncomfortable in attending that, he or she
Yes.
had to attend it. So
Okay, great.
this is what I found that it was little, there was some, I don't know whether they have some hidden vendetta or not, but eventually it might have occurred to certain teachers. I am a Catholic, but it might have occurred to certain teachers that why should we attend it?
Okay. So
So-
yeah, this is another great example. Thank you, Mr. Sahil. So he just stated that in his school they had a mass or they had a special prayer. So I think he's teaching in a convent school, and there even the non-Christian students were asked to attend those ceremonies. Am I right? They were asked
Yeah,
to attend
teachers
the
and
entire
teachers, yeah.
teachers. Okay, the teachers also. Yeah, so even this could be a classic example of hidden curriculum where we are trying to promote one particular religion with the help of the hidden curriculum. Okay, great. So after getting your answers, even I need to make one more point clear over here, that when we talk about hidden curriculum, most of us, we relate hidden curriculum with all the negative things. But we also need to understand one thing, that hidden curriculum can also play a positive part. So as teachers, I need two examples from you all where we can use hidden curriculum for the promotion of something positive or for instilling some good values among the students or among the teachers. So two examples are needed. How with the help of hidden curriculum? Okay, so Mitali is saying that with the help of hidden curriculum, we can teach time management. Yeah, great, Mitali. Anything else?
Ma'am, a role play activity during the time of the assembly wherein girls are also shown to be very good in sports.
Okay.
Specifically girls oriented like
Okay.
cricket, etc.
Very good. Khushbu, your voice is breaking a bit, but I was able to get your point. She was saying that during the time of the school assembly, we can, change the fixed gender roles. तो अगर girls को आप मेल्स के तरीके से ड्रेसअप होकर दिखा रहे हो उस असेंबली के टाइम पर, तो वो भी जेंडर स्टीरियोटाइप ब्रेक करने में हमको हेल्प करेगी. ठीक है, तो इस तरीके से विद द हेल्प ऑफ activities which are taking place in the school or with the help of assemblies or role plays, we can communicate good things also to the people. So good messages can also be conveyed. तो अगर स्कूल की बिल्डिंग के ऊपर भी हम लोग कुछ अच्छे फ्रेजेस या कोट्स लिख दें which are centered around democracy, तो उससे भी किसी ना किसी वे में कोवर्टली या फिर ओवर्टली सिटीजनशिप एजुकेशन जरूर प्रमोट होती है. दिस इज व्हाट वी वर ट्राइंग टू say. Thank you so much for your answers and your experiences which you have just shared with me and with the entire group. We are going back to the PPT and I'm taking just 10 more minutes now. Okay, so other agencies or sources of citizenship education are, I'm skipping one point over here and I'll take that up later on, which is public pedagogy. Before that, I'm going to participation in voluntary organizations. Next one is public hearings, protests, social movements. So when individuals take part in voluntary organization, जब वो किसी NGO का पार्ट बन जाते हैं या फिर किसी ग्रुप का पार्ट बन जाते हैं जिसका बेसिकली काम होता है to generate awareness or to bring people together or to help people out in some way or the other. So even that helps in the promotion of citizenship education. Public hearings, social protests, and social movements, which are actually are becoming more famous these days. And with the help of social media, also now we are having digital movements. So they are also essentially playing an important role in the promotion of citizenship education. We have examples of figures like Gandhi and Ambedkar who had made use of such public hearings and protests and social movements. The civil disobedience movement is one such example where people, they had come together and in order to, with one goal in mind, they were helping each other out in learning more about the entire concept of democracy. And recently, Anna Hazare's anti-corruption bill, when he was just a second. Okay, so Anna Hazare was indulging in a peaceful protest and even that helped people know more about the entire system of corruption and how corruption can be dealt with in the society. I've also mentioned social media here, which is again playing a major role in citizenship education. My PhD research work at Delhi University, it was centered around this only, how social media is playing a role in youth activism and their citizenship education or political education. And how these non-formal education institutions and activities, they play a role as public pedagogy. So these are the platforms of public pedagogy. It could be a new term for some of you, and I'm sure that some of you are also well aware of it. Henry Giraud, a famous critical pedagogue, he came up with this concept और उन्होंने ये बताया था कि जब हम pedagogy की बात करते हैं तो वो खाली classroom centric ही नहीं होता. Pedagogy is something which can also go beyond the classroom. It is not restricted to the four walls of the classroom, and when at the larger social domain or when in the larger society we are interacting with each other, we are indulging in debates and discussions, we are having convergent and divergent thinking, even that is adding more to our education and knowledge. So this is the entire concept of public pedagogy. Later on in one of the web series, we will also be dealing with public pedagogy exclusively. So by embedding citizenship education in the school culture, we can promote it in some way or the other. We can also make use of constitutional values as pedagogies. So the constitutional values of democracy, equality, and fraternity, they can be used in the classroom while teaching each and every subject, not just social sciences, but other subjects also. Also with the help of experiential learning, taking the children out for walks and talks. For excursions, we can promote citizenship education. The NEP 2020, it suggested that we need to develop a national curriculum framework for global citizenship education. So global citizenship education is a term which we will be able to find largely in the National Education Policy 2020. It is basically related to how citizenship education has to be looked at from the global perspective as well. It is not just meant for our national perspective. I mean, it is not just centric to a national perspective, but also for the globe at large. And another significant initiative or a recent initiative is the Lifestyle for Environment initiative, which has been taken up by the government of India. It is also known as the Mission Life. So how Mission Life can help us in knowing more about citizenship education, it is also an area which has to be explored further. So I request you all to read more about it. Ki Mission Life hai kya? I'm sure some of you are already aware of it. So this is a photo related to Mission Life or Lifestyle for Environment. It is a clip taken from one of the material developed by NCERT. So Mission Life basically talks about sustainable living, or how while living a life we can also protect the environments, how we can include sustainable development in our day-to-day life. Now these are some of the activities which can be taken up in the classroom to promote citizenship education. So after teaching or after discussing things related to citizenship education, or after teaching any topic of social sciences or political sciences or sciences per se, or having a lesson of moral education or value education, we can play a game with the students. So the students can be asked to prepare 2 lists. For example, if I have taught a chapter on sustainable living, or on democratic ideals, or on peace and environmental protection, I can ask my students to prepare a list on the theme I will. And the other list could include I will not. Ki ab main ye karungi. Now I will be protecting the environment. Now I will not be using plastic. Now I won't be indulging in gender discrimination. Now I will not be following. Now I will not be breaking the laws which have been meant for me as a citizen, which have been framed for me as a citizen. Then we can have reflective writing activities as well. If I am a leader, फिर हम अगर मैं लीडर हूँ तब मैं क्या क्या करूंगा या करूंगी. If I am a duty bound citizen, then what all will I do? And if I am a drop of water, then how will I expect people to behave with me? They are not supposed to waste water. They are not supposed to misuse it. तो ऐसी activities या फिर reflective writing activities जिसमें बहुत ज़्यादा critical thinking and reflection use होती है, वो हम लोग include कर सकते हैं as teachers in our classroom. I'm sure some of you are already doing these activities in your classroom. Your students are indulging in such activities and you are promoting citizenship education in some way or the other. Then we can also have situation-based activities, like I parked my car in the colony garden. Now the child will be asked to write an extensive paragraph on it. कि colony के garden में मैंने गाड़ी park कर ली. So what would be the repercussions related to it? How will it cause inconvenience for the other people? Next one, it is something very, very common. हम लोग metro में we do travel and we also many a times see that many of the youth, they do not offer their seats to the elderly in metro, which is also a very, very big issue of concern. We need to focus on this as well. तो अगर ऐसा कर रहे हैं तो हमें बचपन से ही, I mean school time से ही, we need to make our children more sympathetic and empathetic. We have to teach them how to, give respect to the elderly, how to focus on the basic idealistic human values. Another one could be I did not raise my voice against, and then all the crimes and all related to the self and the society can be included in it. So these could be reflective writing tasks. Then we can celebrate special days in the school. These are some of the suggestions. this point is very, very important. It is known as knowing your neighborhood. So if I'm staying in Guru Tegh Bahadur Nagar, मुझे पता ही नहीं है गुरु टेक बहादुर कौन थे, तो मुझे अपने स्टूडेंट्स को ये बताना है कि आसपास के एरियाज के नाम को आप ढंग से देखो, and you need to research on them, and then you are supposed to prepare a report. So with the help of this, we will be able to know more about our local heroes, which is also again quintessential for us as active and conscious citizens. We go to Lajpat Nagar for shopping, but we do not know the reason behind this particular name. We know Kingsway Camp. It is near Delhi Delhi University and Delhi Teachers University, but we do not know the logic behind keeping this name. Also, same thing applies to Chanakyapuri, and there could be a very huge list related to it. So we have to take our students to community walks. And then we can, with the help of innovative pedagogies, with the help of music, arts, sports, and social media, we can bring the community together. We can call people from the community to the school for the promotion of citizenship education in some way or the other. So now I'm coming down to the last slide. And this is a very small activity which we are going to collectively do. We need to just focus on these two pictures for 1 minute, and we need to write our views in the chat box. I hope this task is not very complicated and draining for you all after attending your classes and school. Can you see this slide clearly? The title says that we need to beware of the spiral of silence. We need to beware of the spiral of silence. Downward spiral of silence.
मैम
हाँ जी,
मैम बहुत बार होता है ना हमें
प्रियंका, अभी आप
बोल के
प्रियंका, can you just
just
प्रियंका, आपकी वॉइस क्रैक कर रही है,
Hello,
आप प्लीज लिख सकते हो यहाँ पर.
ओके मैम
Are also requested to express their views in the chat box first, because I want more people to engage and take part in this activity. So I'm going back to the slide share. I'm sorry for the inconvenience being, just a second. I'm not able to share my entire screen, so a lot of inconvenience is being caused. Okay, so I'm presenting my screen again, so you'll be able to see the PPT. Now, is it visible? Okay, so we have to focus on both the images. One says that no one is talking about climate change, so I won't bring it up. Right? So the girl and the boy both are saying that no one is talking about climate change, so it's okay, I won't bring it up. And the second one is a little complicated. The title is Downward Spiral of Silence. Alleged public opinion is at the top, and at the bottom we can see the term silence and fear of isolation. And you can also see two more things written over here. One is related to willingness to speak out, which is at the top, and later on persons with minority viewpoint. That particular thing is written in the middle. So can any one of you decode this particular image? And we will first write it here in the chat box. So should I stop the screen sharing now? Have you all seen it properly? Okay, so I'm stopping it now. Okay, so let's start with the discussion now. Just a second. Okay, so Khushbu has written. Khushbu has written, one person's opinion is reflecting onto another, and this can become the opinion of masses. Even if anyone has a different opinion, may not say anything at all, this may be troublesome for society. Amazing, Khushbu. Monica has written that individuals may withhold their opinion due to perceived majority views. Great, Monica. Do we have more answers? Okay, Sahil is saying that he seconds Monica. Okay, yeah. So this is what the spiral of silence is all about. I'm not taking the credit of this particular theory. This has been propounded by a very famous political philosopher also and political worker also and also a media person. So I'm just sharing the details related to it. Okay. So the spiral of silence theory was given by Elizabeth Noel Newman in 1974, who is a German political scientist. And Newman had elaborated the same thing which you people are trying to convey, that as individuals, we know that individuals are social beings, and as individuals we are also very conscious and cautious about what we are expressing in front of the larger social group. So if I want to say something in front of a group of which I am a part, then I'll be very, very cautious and conscious about what I'm expressing and how I'm expressing in front of the group, because I want the group to accept me in some way or the other. So this process can also prove to be counterproductive when we are living in a society or when we are living in a democracy per se. अगर मेरा opinion या फिर जो मेरा thought process या किसी भी चीज से related मेरी जो thinking है, अगर वो different होगी बाकी लोगों से, तो मैं वो बोलते हुए भी घबराऊंगा या घबराऊंगी. और बहुत बार मैं अपनी बात को दबा कर उस स्पाइरल के नीचे लाते लाते I will be completely muted. So I will keep my mouth completely shut or I will remain silent. So this is the theory of spiral of silence. It is very important and it is very, very significant for us as teachers of citizenship education to focus on this theory or to focus on the viewpoint of Elizabeth Noel Newman, who suggested that in the classroom also, when most of the children are having one particular point of view, but one of the children is having a different point of view or one of the students is having a different point of view. So as teachers, we need to act democratically. We need to focus on the fact that one particular minority opinion is also very, very important. We have to know the reasons behind having that particular thought process also. Citizenship education talks about this only, that we need to focus on democracy. We need to focus on the fact that none of the students in the classroom should be forced to remain silent or should be forced to stay out of the group. And even if the person is feeling out of the group, we as teachers, we have to bring that child to bring him or her back to the classroom or back to the larger group, so that that particular child can feel included in the larger group of the class. So this is a very significant thing which we have to focus on. So I have covered most of the points now. Some of the points are also missed because of paucity of time and because of some of the issues. At the end, I would just like to focus on some of the readings which are related to citizenship education. And these are suggestive readings. One is A Democratic Classroom. It is written by Professor Pankaj Arora, who is also the chairperson of NCTE. Second one is Experiential Learning by Professor Dhananjay Joshi and Dr. S.K. Bhatia. Professor Dhananjay Joshi is the Vice Chancellor of Delhi Teachers University. Then we have Educational Framework for Global Citizenship Education, which has been prepared by the University Grants Commission. Then NCERT has come up with a special module on global citizenship. It is also a very important and a good read. So we can focus on these particular books. And I have a huge list of other readings also related to citizenship education and political education. So I can also share that with you people if at all you all are interested. Thank you so much for your patient listening. And now I would like you all to give your suggestions and feedback. And you can also seek clarification or ask questions if at all you have any. So I can see that Shomita Ghosh and Kamini, they have raised their hands. Do you want to add something?
Good evening, ma'am. I just want to ask.
Good evening, Kamini. Your voice is breaking a bit.
Am I audible
Kamini.
now, ma'am?
Yes,
Yeah.
Kamini.
Am I also audible?
Yeah, Shomita and Kamini both
Please
are audible.
give us
So-
the list of these books. They'll be, I think, very
Yes, I'll do that for sure. I'll be sharing the entire reading list with you all. Kamini, you want to add something?
Ma'am, I can't say it's a doubt. Just I want to confirm that is it possible in the future that we will see a subject which is related to citizenship education? Is it possible in 21st century?
कि कामिनी आपकी आवाज मुझे ठीक से बिल्कुल भी नहीं आ रही. सॉरी फॉर दैट. आप या तो प्लीज टाइप कर दो.
And ma'am, one more thing is that will you be giving us a certificate?
Yes. So it is written in the advertisement also in the creative that an e-certificate. Yeah. So an e-certificate will be given for each webinar that you will be attending. कामिनी आप प्लीज लिख दीजिए जो आप बोल रहे थे. Okay, so Sahil Simon is asking how to incorporate citizenship education in science education. Okay, so as I just stated earlier, that citizenship education is a subject which can be, promoted with the help of the entire curriculum. So if a science teacher, for example, if a science teacher is teaching a topic related to environment, then that particular science teacher can ask the students to write a reflective, a reflective writing activity can take place where the students can write their views on the nature of protection of environment and how it is needed for the development of the society as a whole. And what is my role as a citizen in the promotion of the protection of environment. So you can quote examples. You can also ask questions in the classroom. And while explaining complicated concepts also, you can embed things related to citizenship education in your entire transactional process. Kamini is saying, is it possible to see any subject related to citizenship education in future? Okay, great, Kamini. So we do have a separate subject of citizenship education now. कुछ कंट्रीज में तो जैसे कि कनाडा, यूके, यूएस में तो कंपल्सरी सब्जेक्ट सिटीजनशिप एजुकेशन का होता है. एंड इफ वी टॉक अबाउट टीचर एजुकेशन, देन इन द ITEP syllabus, which is the 4-year integrated teacher education program, a subject known as citizenship education has been included now. तो अगर आप लोग अब B.Ed कर रहे होते तो आप citizenship education को जरूर देखते अपने B.Ed के syllabus के अंदर ही. Secondly, for school teachers also, several sensitization programs are taking place so that they can include components of citizenship education in their classroom teaching for primary, secondary, and higher secondary stage learners. So it is something which is very significant and pertinent for the development and growth of the society and for strengthening of the democracy also. So as a suggestion or as a feedback or as a suggestion from Kamini, we can take this particular initiative further and collectively we can demand for the creation of citizenship education as a completely exclusive subject, to make it a separate subject and include it in the school curriculum. Do we have more questions?
Yes, ma'am, because इस समय हम पढ़ा तो रहे हैं, we are teaching in schools, but in a chunks. अलग-अलग subject में हमने somehow we have added some part in social science, and I'm teaching in DAV, so we have a particular subject like Ved part. So in that Ved part, we also teaching somewhere the moral, cultural education, but we are not combined with the particular subject in which we can teach the student because they are not taking that part seriously.
Very true, Kamini. This is the need of the hour. Now we need to make it a separate subject and it has to be included in the school curriculum as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have more comments or suggestions? Any more comments or suggestions? Okay, so I think we should wind up now. Thank you so much for engaging in this particular session. Okay, and I request you all to take part in the other webinars also. As I stated earlier, that this is going to be a webinar series, and it is an initiative taken by Delhi Teachers University, which is a government university. So the webinars are going to help you all, and also the certificates will be helping you all in some way or the other, not just for, adding more to your bundle of certificates, but also for sharing of views and for knowledge generation. So again, at the end, I just want to share one quote which I really like, which is that democracy is not only a form of government, which is a way of life. So in the end, I want to conclude my session with this particular quote. So I'm repeating it again. We need to think about it, that democracy is not only a form of government, it is a way of life. So as teachers, we need to foster the process of democracy. We need to promote democracy or the democratic ideals. And in the classroom, as well as in the larger social context, we have to act and behave democratically. And this is something which has to be nurtured, and this value has to be promoted for and to our students as well. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.